Blog Talk Radio.
In the name of Amen, the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, and Amen, we trust, as the Republican intellect, the real 144,000 is being gathered to stay in time, the mentalists, the Amen race, the bright race. Good evening, I'm your host, the intellectual leader Mentari. This is Mentellect. We're going to be discussing the demonic mental power breaker that we all need restored, I should say. That we all need restored in our minds. What do I mean by that? The demonic mental power breaker that we all need restored in our minds. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, it was a time where we had a filter. What I mean by that is a time when our people had filters. What did you need filters for? I mean mental filters, where they didn't just say anything that came to mind. People nowadays say anything that comes to their mind, and it's not really meant to be said at certain times. Certain times, in proper times, you're not supposed to say certain things. You miss your time, what you were supposed to say. And that being said, is that when people don't have the proper discernment, they don't have the mental filters on and know the times in which to say things and the times in which to introduce things in life. That's usually because they have a lot of demons on them. They have a lot of demons on them that constantly come crashing through their mind, crashing through their brain, and taking over their bodies, taking over their thoughts, saying anything, using them as empty vessels of demonic possession, using them to say the stupidest, most outlandish thing, do the dumbest thing out here. This is what happens when you don't have that power breaker, meaning to break those spiritual demons, to break them in you mentally, to be able to break them in you mentally. When people would say, I can control myself, control this, they were really saying they can control their demons. Mm-hmm. That's what you were really trying to get fight and control over. Not over yourself. You were trying to fight and get control over the demons that have overtaken your body and have overtaken your mind. And when these demons overtake your body and mind, pretty soon they're using you like a vessel, just using your body, using it like a machine, riding it around in life and doing nothing but delivering degenerate behavior on this journey. When you give into these ideas, these thoughts, when you give into these things, you're pretty much giving into that mental power breaker. You're giving into that, I should say not giving into it, but you are bypassing it. You're bypassing that mental power breaker. And in that, you are going into a mindset where you are allowing things to penetrate your mind, when you're allowing words, things, and thoughts to penetrate your mind that don't necessarily belong there. You're allowing these things to penetrate your mind where it doesn't belong in your mind. You're allowing these things to take hold of your mind where they don't belong in your mind at all. And like I said, then you have to release naturally what comes to your mind in some way, shape, or form. So what happens is you start to release these things, these thoughts that are coming into your mind, these demonic thoughts, and you're trying to basically control the flow of these thoughts. Some of you should be, are just trying to let it all hang out. That term, let it all hang out. Basically, no discipline, no judgment, no discernment. You can just say and do whatever you want. Like those mental demonic forces that come into you, take over your body, and let you say anything, act wild, act like an outlandish, crazy animal. And, that's just supposed to be accepted. That's supposed to be accepted. People say that behavior is supposed to be accepted. I say, you know what? When you say things like that, when you believe things like that, what happens? You fall into circumstances just like that. What is the demonic mental power breaker that we all need restored in our minds? That is our filter. The mental filter is the power breaker. But it's not meant for us to process all the thoughts that come into our head. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Everything is not meant to be rehashed in our mind. And I try my best every day not to rehash things. I try. Who put it there and why? The almond, so that we can filter out thoughts and focus on the important things that we need to focus on, the most important thoughts that we need to receive and process and transmit. What is the flow switch? What is the flow switch of this power? The flow switch is your mind. You allow things to flow into your mind, you can't switch them off in your brain. You can switch them off in your brain. So your mind and brain is the flow switch. Two things, your mind and your brain. You can allow things to flow into your mind, switch them off and store them there, and then you can release them elsewhere. Right? What happens when we don't have it? You're walking around crazy, like a lot of people out here. People are misunderstood, undervalued, discarded. People that talk the crazy stuff we y'all don't mess with. What happens when it is restored? Thoughts are clearer, our minds are clearer, and our actions are clearer. Just like that. That's it.
For the complete broadcast, you're gonna have to go to Mentellect Patreon. Go to Mentellect Patreon for this complete broadcast, because it will not, I guarantee you, it will not be on YouTube. Subscribe, go join Mentellect Patreon.
Rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect, black race to the white race. If it's hell, and then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag.